Good morning, everyone. It is early morning here at the office, and I'm about to show you what is a floche braid and how it can absolutely change the game for your hand embroidery. So if you're somebody that loves hand embroidery like I do, I adore floche. Floche is just this luscious, I love the fiber so much. This entire wall back here is floche. It is from DMC. So a lot of people just say DMC and they kind of say that interchangeably with floss. Whereas DMC is the manufacturer, and one of the products that they manufacture is floss. Another product that they manufacture is floche. Floche, like I like to refer to it as the older, sophisticated sister of floss. So if you love floss, chances are you are going to absolutely adore floche. I started using this back, I don't know, Audrey was itty bitty when I first bought it, and then I did this massive project. I can talk. I did this massive project, like this shadow work dress for her a few years ago. I've been smocking with it. I've been doing cut embroidery, so many things. I've just fallen in love with it. Like I said, if you like floss, or floss, it's easy to like floche floss, blah 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 blah, right? But yeah, if you like floss, chances are you're going to it's just elevated even more. So what's a floche braid though? Well, the thing, so I'm braiding one up right here. This is one of our new braids. I've got the amount of color combinations that I have at this point. It's just it's just grown and grown and grown. So okay, let me back up. So this is a hank of floche. It comes from DMC, like from France, in the little container. I've already taken them off. But this is 10 grams. This is a lot of material. So it's just one it's one continuous thing of fiber. Okay, there's no like start and stop. It's one just continuous thing, similar to floss. But what's not similar is that it's a massive amount, and you can't just pull one end and cut her off, you know how you do with floss or with cotton border or anything like that. So what instead is you have to find this like loop area, and then that's how you get this. From here, you've got to do something. Like I said, it's just one continuous piece, and then they've put like a little slip knot in here. So you could theoretically take the slip knot and then like untwine that, but that would just be kind of a hot mess in a hurry. So you at least need to cut this open and braid them, and that's how I do it since I do so much hand embroidery. Also, I don't want to utilize my braids because that's one of my products, so it's like not a good use of my time. So I'll just braid up one color at a time, and that's how I'll use them for my projects. The benefit though for a floche braid is that since this is so massive, even that antique shadow work dress that I made for Audrey, you know, a couple of years ago, I didn't finish a full hank on any of those colors. Like, it'll take, even with the amount of hand embroidery that I do, it'll take me a year or so to get through one floche braid. Not floche braid, just one color up, like braided up together. And so each hank sells for $8 a piece. Now, for the amount of material you get, that's a good deal. But if you're like, I just want to do a couple garments, hold on. It says to change the battery. Sorry, the battery stopped. I don't quite remember where I was, but yeah, if you're just somebody that just wants, you know, not a lifetime supply of a given color, then spending $8 a hank, it really does add up, because you want a kind of a range of colors and, you know, for your motifs or your smocking or whatever. So that's where the floche braids come into play. The floche braids, they've got anywhere from 3 to 7 colors of braid, and they range in price from around $11, $12 up to, actually I have one braid that's got like 12 colors in it, but that's like a one-off. Normally they're like 3 to 7 colors. Most of them hover around 4, 5, 6 colors, and they range in price from like $11 to around $20, but the one that has like 12 colors in it I think is about $30, and that one is a beast to braid. My husband gave me this idea of doing floche braids because, you know, he saw that it was just adding up, and if you're kind of crazy like me, then, you know, the hanks are a great option. They're definitely more bang for your buck. But if you're just like, I just want to do a couple projects and I don't need a lifetime supply of that yellow, you know, you're not off in the deep end of hand embroidery or smocking or anything like that, then the floche braids just solve so many things. And like I said, it was his idea. He was thinking of doing like a traditional, you know, 3 colors. And of course, I took it and ran with it because I'm crazy like that. I was like, there must be a way to braid up 5 themes or 6 themes together, or, you know, why stop at 3? That's nonsense. So here we are, what, 2, 3 years later. I've got a wide range of color combinations at this point. We are approaching, gosh, I want to say we have around 80 braids. It's a lot. It's a lot of different color combinations. If there's a color combination that you know, like a particular motif that I don't have, please email me and we will, you know, if it's, that's how a number of braids have gotten created, is that people were like the hydration line, or not hydration, hydrangea line. A sweet woman was like, hey, I love hydrangeas, blah blah blah, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love hydrangeas too. Why haven't I thought of that? I just did a sunflower braid. Why hadn't I thought of that? I absolutely adore sunflowers. They were actually the flower at our wedding, and I plant them every year. They're one of my absolute favorite flowers. Oh, I remember a couple of years ago we were driving along. We live here in the Smoky Mountains. If you didn't know, we live in the Smoky Mountains, and we live in the Smoky Mountains because we adore, I keep saying that word in this video, but yeah, I don't know, I'm happy. It is springtime here in the mountains. The sun happens to be coming up. I can hear the birds, and it's just like, it's a good place to be. Anyhow, I also really enjoy the morning time. So you're catching me like refreshed and happy. Sunshine, mountains. So what was I saying? We were driving along. Audrey was a toddler. I don't think Henry was even in the making. And I remember seeing a field of sunflowers just passing through, and I thought, oh my gosh, I have got to get that child in a dress and take some pictures of her, and next thing we knew, that was happening. So yeah, I love sunflowers, just whatever. I like flowers in general, but I have, what am I trying to say? I have a lot of braids. So chances are, if you're making something, we've got the motif or the color combination for your motif. And if we don't, please email me. So this is one of our new braids. It's the Tallulah braid, which is based off of a gorgeous smocking pattern that was featured in Australian Smocking and Embroidery magazine. It's one of my absolute favorite smocking plates. I normally don't follow a smocking plate, but man, this one just stands out. It is absolutely gorgeous. The green that this particular, like the designer of the smocking, the creator of the smocking pattern decided to use, it's a game changer. And I hadn't used that green. You know, I don't really like gravitate towards that green. Just looking at it from the hang, not that it's a bad color, it just never really like called me, right? Like some colors are like, oh, use me, and this color I just kept passing by. Well, I did this smocking plate long time ago. I think it was like the 2nd or 3rd bishop I ever created, and that creation's a little bit of a hot mess, but that's okay. It's a learning process. Enjoy the process, right? Enjoy the journey. But then I was flipping through it and I was reminded of this thing, and I was like, I really should redo that. So when I was in the tulips, I sat down and I redid her, and it was just nice. So I made a braid. There's a braid, there's the beads that go along with the kit, and just trying to resurface this plate because, like I said, I adore it. So it is available if you want to do it. I've got videos that are not videos, a video that sits down and walks you through how to do that smocking plate, walks you to how to do the bouillons and just all the things together. And the green, as I was trying to say, really makes the whole thing come together. I love the color choice that the designer made. It's like she knew what she was doing. So a floche braid, then you can see I've been cutting these up because you got to do something. Even if you're just having a single color, not doing the whole thing, you got to do it somehow, because you can't just pull on a hank of floche. It'll turn into a hot mess in a hurry since it's one continuous loop. So how do I do a floche braid? As you can see, I've been splitting them up, and to keep things, you know, keep the braids true, I measure all of them. So I stand here, you know, often it's like early morning before the sunrise, and we happen to have a storefront. It's not a storefront. It's not open to the public because we do the e-commerce, but it could be. It's in a line, like kind of like on a main street sort of thing. And often the police patrol, you know, early morning. Just thank you, police officers. Just, you know, keeping the town safe. And I'm over here early morning with a little scale, and I'm like, don't mind me, not up to no good. You know, like I'm just measuring like exclusive fiber from France. Nothing to see here, right? Like. Because sometimes it gives me the vibes of other things. Oh, craziness. But yeah, so I measure all of it to keep it all equal. I cut them to about 18-inch lengths, and then a couple strands needs to go the other way. And so I will separate all of them and get the colors ready for braiding. So what can you do with floche? What can't you do with floche? I've done everything from, shadow smocking, not shadow smocking, shadow work, shadow embroidery. First of all, I absolutely adore shadow embroidery, but then I really, really love using floche for shadow embroidery. Floche is a soft fiber that has this spreadability to it, and it's not designed to, like floss, you know, comes in 6 strands. It's designed to, you can use from 1 to 6 strands, separate as you wish, whereas floche is not designed to be separated. 1 strand of floche is about 1.5 the width of 1 strand of floss, okay? So if you take 2 strands of floche together, that gives you to about 3 strands of floss, which is what people are used to. You know, you kind of gravitate towards when you're doing smocking. You do like the 3 strands. That's kind of the typical route to go. When and I've got a PDF download if you want to like know my 2 cents on fibers. By no means am I trying to come off like an expert. I've just spent some time with them, and I, you know, of various fibers over the years, and I just put down my 2 cents on a PDF. As well as I copied over the manufacturer's like washing and laundering information, because they kind of are the experts, so I just copied that over. So it was in one place for people, and it's online in case you want to know the 2 cents that are rattling around in my brain. It is front and back, and so yeah, don't miss the back part of it. And anyway, so I've done shadow work with this thing. It's my absolute go-to for shadow work. Then I have done smocking. I love to smock with it because you can just take 1 strand and smock up a little outfit, and it smocks so much faster, and it's such a better experience than having to do with multiple strands of anything, especially 3 strands of floss. That's kind of a miserable thing because you got to keep everything flat and not twisted for it to look nice. Whereas if you just have 1 strand of floss, 1 strand of floche, it just goes together in a hurry, and it looks nice, and it still has some width to it. And anyway, so this happens to be a 6 wide braid. A 6 wide braid is the equivalent of one hank. Okay, so like it has the same amount of volume as one hank. And because of that, I put the sleeve that comes back from the manufacturer, since it's the equivalent of one hank. This was one hank of one color. Now it's one hank of 6 colors. So it still works out, right? And then what do I do? So when you get a floche braid, I have all of the colors like to one place, generally speaking. Sometimes with the 3 wide, since there's only 3, I will separate one color, but it's a very obvious color. So like I might separate, you know, the bright pink or like the white. Like there are some braids where it's, you know, a light shade of pink and then right under it the dark shade, like the next dark shade of pink. Like our Sweetest Rose braid, that is one of our best sellers, and I will have all of one shade of pink on one side, all of the other shade of pink on the other side. This one is pretty, you can pretty much tell what colors are what. But like I said, you know, some braids like the Sweetest Rose, and like one side is all the green, on the other side is all the other green. So you don't have to worry about like, is that the light shade of green or is that the dark shade of green? If you're just pulling from the same side of the floche braid, then you will get the same color. I hope that makes sense. So from here, I just trim up, like, just to make it look a little polished, I just do about 1/8 of an inch of a trim, because I don't want to, you know, I don't want to waste the fiber, but I just give it a little bit of a trim. I put her in here, and then we braid 6 together. At one point, I had a braid that was an 8 wide, and braiding 8 is a thing, but also I discontinued that braid because the length, it was just, the proportions were not nice, so I discontinued her. So yeah, this is 6 wide, and here we go. So at this point, put a bow on. That's a 6 wide braid, you know, 6 colors. So instead of $48, 8 times 6, 48, it is $20 and some odd cents. And I think it's $20.25, but don't quote me. I don't know who runs this place. I try to make a bow. I'm not the best at bows, but I do my best. I give the bottom a trimming, and that is a floche braid. From there, so like I said, this one has the the sleeve from the manufacturer. If it's not a full hank, or if it's more, like I have a leafy greens that is 7 wide, then I'll use one of these and I'll just wrap it around and taper together. Then the last part, regardless of which sleeve it gets, it does get a label. That way when you get the braid, you know what colors are what. Maybe you fall in love with a particular color and you want, you know, a 5-year supply of it, then you can buy the hank. You can buy the hank. I do sell the hanks individually, but yeah, this got the label. It does have a color description. This particular braid, for example, has 3 different pinks in here. So I've got on the label like dark pink and what the number is, medium pink, and light pink. And then I've got, you know, yellow, blue, and green, and what colors those are. So to use it, you just pull it right off the top. Like I've got some people that they actually unbraided it. Don't unbraid your braids. Keep them nice and neat. And it's like, it makes it really nice to travel with, you know, doctors' offices, or sewing in the park, or, you know, watching your kiddos, whatever, traveling. Oh my gosh, road trips. Love hand embroidery and smocking on road trips, and this is just a nice, neat way to do that. You pull one out, comes out like butter. It's just, I love them. So that is what a floche braid is. Go check out the shadow work videos. I have a video that shows you how to do any shape. It explains the concept through, I learned how to do, you know, a little bit of like animation to make the video, and it explains how to do any shape, shadow work, embroidery, go check out that video. Of course, if you have any questions, put them down in the comments below and I will do my best to answer them. And as always, I appreciate y'all for watching and I hope to catch y'all next time.